Okay. Hi Sujit sir, hi Vicky. This is Atulya from Bollywood Hangama.
Hi.
First of all, congratulations on the success of the film. And also thank you for making it the way it is. So, Sujit, I want to start with you. The Jallianwala Bagh scene is like undoubtedly one of the most impactful scenes in the film. So, you have shown the massacre with such gravity and intensity, and also like focusing on the immediate aftermath at a time when we see that some of them are still struggling to survive. So, what exactly went into like setting up the scene and recreating this event?
The Jallianwala sequence is actually, I got a lot of calls from a lot of people. Some people thought it was perfect. Some people thought it's too long. Some people thought it's quite indulgent. So, but my point was that, Jallianwala is the fulcrum of the entire event of our independence movement, actually.
Mhm.
So if you see, that's the fulcrum center point. From there, everything germinated, actually, because that was the brutality that I don't think that India could ever imagine that, that they could do that. So when it boiled down to that, they, openly fired at unarmed people. And also that was the germ of birth of many revolutionaries from 1919 till 1947 that we got independence. So it had to be a little indulgent from my side, and I was quite adamant there. So uh, it required one was, nobody in my crew was very clear what is I'm going to shoot. So they knew that we are going to create a Jallianwala, but nothing was clear. So there was not a proper scripted also that how it's going to be. Yes, there were some bullet points to it. So the first and foremost thing for Jallianwala was to sequence to create was to get Vicky age of 20. So to change Vicky and adapt to age of the Jallianwala would have only been possible if that I could see Udham at the age of 20, and so believable 20. So that was the first huge task that we crossed. Second was, of course, we could not shoot in the actual location of Jallianwala because now it's a archival and it's a museum. So we had to find a space where we can. It looked like it should feel like a prison, almost that the crowd has been put there as a prison, and now you can do whatever with them. And also to have that little alley of there. So that was the second challenge that we managed. And of course, the people of Punjab, So I went and also saw the Gandhika reference. And I also went to the location which was shot in Delhi, in Gandhi. So I could not shoot there because, I could not get those faces. So that was the second then we got. And third was, of course, the massacre, the injury, which was done by Peter, the prosthetics, how the limbs were there. It was a bloodbath. You saw it, So to recreate that bloodbath, there were days we were really quite dazed because there was so much blood we could not take it. We could not eat also properly that night, So it was so much of blood. And the fourth and another important was to get that cart, which just happened by chance. So it was early. Before that, the cart, it was actually a charpai, which is normally used in a Punjab village or somebody at that time. Charpai. So we thought of we'll use a charpai, but I suddenly got this, and this is also from that particular era. And then I got this cart, and we just repaired it, and then that was used. And also another important was to handle these small actors who were, I won't call them crowd, I will call them actors who were interacting with Vicky, those small young girls, young boys who were in pain, and to make them perform and what they did. So that was another challenging part to recreate this Jallianwala Bagh.
Okay, thank you, sir. Vicky, regarding the same scene, like I understand that the complexity of the emotion that the character goes through that phase is not something which we can even begin to understand in today's generation. So, how did you go about the entire Jallianwala Bagh scene? And since it was such a long scene, it might have also required you to be in that phase for a longer period of time, I'm guessing.
Yes, we shot the sequence over a few days. Uh, None of them were proper full night sequences. We used to shoot like from 7 in the evening to 11 in the night, and but those 4 hours would be like nobody. I don't think nobody would sit down. There was no monitor village or chairs laid down for the actors or director or DOPs or technicians for them to kind of sit and rest between shots. So we would just be at it. I wouldn't know where the cameras are placed. All I knew was there's a 3 camera setup. I didn't know if it's a close-up shot, if it's a wide shot. I didn't know that. There were all the actors who were laid down on the ground, and I had to perform. And like Sujita mentioned, we only had bullet points on paper as to what we want to cover. And apart from that, we just kept executing and going with the flow. All the actors on the ground, they were said, like apart from a few, they were all told that I will come, and whoever I will find moving, I will consider them to be injured and I will just pick their bodies. So most of them, around 7 out of 10 bodies, were not planned that I would pick them up, and they were not. None of the picking up was rehearsed. We had to show it that he is not used to picking up bodies, or he's not an expert in doing that. So the body picking up, sometimes he's pulling, sometimes he's dragging, sometimes he's taking them over his shoulders. So all of that was just how it was getting played out over there. It was physically exhausting, but at the same time, somewhere down the line, it was also doing something to us on an emotional level as well. I feel, because what I was not prepared as an actor. I mean, as an actor, I knew that I'm getting into an intense space, and we are trying to recreate Jallianwala Bagh, so it's not going to be easy. But what I was not prepared was that while doing it, my mind would constantly get into the headspace of thinking that there were actually people who have gone through this. There was actually an Udham Singh who was a 19-year-old kid who was trying to make sense of this night. And when that thought would kicking in, it would kind of numb you down. Like it would numb me down and make me feel that whatever we are trying to do, it is difficult, but it can probably be just 10% of what had actually happened. And that used to like really numb me down. Even after coming back to the hotel, we would like sir mentioned, that it would not be like people would be chit chatting. We would get back to our lives and we would have a wholesome dinner and go to sleep. It was not that kind of a mahal. We would come back, everybody would be kind of a little tired, but also a little kind of subdued. They would kind of be in their own space. Sometimes for me personally, some nights would be difficult to go to sleep because my mind would just constantly keep thinking how it must have been for the people who were actually there at that point of time. So all of these things were playing out at the same time, but I guess there was something there. There was some energy there that kept us going. That kept us we kept going ahead and we kept shooting. We kept shooting. We didn't also let ourselves indulge into the space that, oh my God, how difficult this is going on. We just kept shooting and we got through it.
Thank you so much, Vicky.
Next is Mimansa from Indian Express.
Hi, hello, sir. Hi, Vicky.
Hi, Mimansa, how are you?
I'm good. Again, thank you for the movie. I mean, I think one of the best we've seen in recent times, and hats off to you guys for pulling it off. Of course, as we were talking about the Jallianwala Bagh massacre sequence, I mean, one of the most heart-wrenching sequence, not just of the movie, but what we've seen of how the massacre has been depicted so far. Vicky, I'd like to ask you, as you were talking about getting into the psyche of that 19, 20-year-old, and then how you pulled off the entire thing. I mean, having playing more with silences, you're reacting to dead bodies there, and I mean the entire, because you were the only one, you were pulling off the entire sequence. Another sequence where you are talking to a drunk man in one of the sequences where you are just venting out your emotions. These two are one of my personal favorite sequences. I want to ask you, when you were playing different phases of your character's age, how difficult was it to switch on and off on the sets? I mean, of course, the film is very emotionally very charging. How did you have your overwhelming emotions, overwhelming moments on the sets also?
There were moments like those. The Jallianwala Bagh sequence, of course, was I don't think I have gone through as an actor. I've gone through anything like that before, and even as a person. So that was just for me. It was an experience that I'll remember for my entire life as an actor and as Vicky Kaushal, the individual. Uh, but the scene that you're also talking about, the free speech scene, it was actually not there in the initial draft of the film. It kind of came as an idea to Sujita while we were shooting the film, I mean, Sujita will give more details on that, but he kind of got an idea as to if we can get a scene where we can actually see Udham Singh for who Udham Singh is as a person, not the revolutionary, not the man on a mission, not all of that, but just who he is, that boy inside, that man inside, and and him just kind of venting out, and that's where you see kind of these disjointed thoughts that he's full of. He remembers his mother, whom he lost at the age of 5, and his mother used to talk about toys. He remembers his friend, his brother Bhagat Singh, what he feels about how the world should be sharing things rather than creating borders and having wars. All of these disjointed things were kind of coming in all together, and so we shot that, and it was a monologue that I'd actually gotten on the same day. On the same day, the night before, I had only gotten the idea of what we are shooting tomorrow by Sujita. कि विकी हम लोग ऐसा कुछ शूट करेंगे और ऐसा कुछ बोलेगा, उधम ऐसा कुछ बोलेगा, ऐसा कुछ बोलेगा, ऐसा कुछ फील करेगा. And then he finished his dinner at 10:30 in the night, and he's gone to bed. And I sat with Ritesh Shah, the writer, in the restaurant of the hotel, and I was like, please tell me what monologue are you writing, because I have to memorize this and I will need a couple of hours to remember it, and especially because it's a drunk scene. So I need to memorize it before I get drunk. So then I sat with Ritesh Shah, and then kind of he was thinking, acha, aisa kuch hoga, aisa kuch hoga. But then I only got the lines when I sat in the car to go to the location. And I kind of memorized it, and then we performed that scene. But I guess while shooting this film, things were kind of, now in retrospect that we see, things were kind of probably aligned in a more organic way, that we could kind of reach the honesty of those moments. As an actor, as a director, as a DOP, as any technician on set, we could somehow reach the honesty on that particular day. Sometimes you have good days, sometimes you have bad days as creative people. But I guess something was there that was blessing us with us being able to reach the honest note of these scenes.
Sujit sir, I'd like to ask you as well, for the Jallianwala Bagh sequence. I mean, the sequence starts with a different aim for Udham. He's out to look for Reshma, but then it changes to something else. He sees it, he feels a massacre, and then we really don't see what happened to Reshma actually, like on screen. Was this a conscious decision to keep things to the imagination of the audience, to not make it very melodramatic or very typically, as we say, filmy, and just to let people absorb and feel the moment?
Yes, I think it was absolutely intended, because if I would have shown, even if one single shot or a frame of Reshma in the night, I think Udham would have failed in his what he says, that the Reshma was not that. Then it was not a matter of Reshma. Then it was just a matter of something else, possibly humanity, or that what he saw there. I think when you see that, then you can't be selfish enough to just be concentrating on who your relative is, or who is your partner is, or whatever. I think at that point, that's what makes Udham, that he forgot everything he erased everything of his life completely. He just was focused on just saving those people, and while saving, he became insanity. He became insane. and then he didn't know control over his body, and he just in control over his body or mind. आपने देखा होगा कि at the end of the savings, he was not in control of anything. He was just taking, picking, पता नहीं कैसे कर रहा था. It was just some other force that he was doing it. So I think that was intended, absolutely.
Thank you so much again for giving us the movie. And of course, I think Vicky's best so far, Sujit sir, pulling off a 10-minute massacre into, I think, a 50-minute sequence. Hats off. Thank you, guys. Thank you. Looking forward to more films from your end.
Thank you, Mimamsa. Thank you.
Next is Vinamra from Midday.
Hello, Vicky sir. Hello, Sujit sir.
Hi.
Yeah,
Hi, Vinamra.
Sujit sir, my question to you is, first of all, fantastic film and fantastic response. Currently, a lot of fans and a lot of critics from the industry are standing by the film because the jury at the Oscars feels that the film represents hatred towards the British. As a filmmaker and also as an audience, what do you have to say about the response?
But I think it's very subjective. So, what somebody else feels about the film or about a certain, about British, I think it's, I won't have any comment on that because it's very personal and jury is very sensitive. And I know the kind of people there on the juries also are very, very good. And finally, the film also that's been selected, I am really proud of that film. I know about that film. That film is really a deserving film. So I don't have any comment on that actually. It's a very personal comment. So I don't think it affects me at all. I mean, so I can also say many things about some other film. But I think you'll have to ask him. So my reaction is that I will go by the jury and I trust the jury and I abide by the jury's decision.
Vicky, talking about fans, a lot of fans on social media feel that every time there is a story based on a true incident, only 3 actors can headline it. Akshay Kumar, John Ibrahim, and now Vicky Kaushal.
We will only take we'll only take film related questions. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. That's okay. No, I think
That's
that's
okay,
a good
that's
question.
okay, that's okay.
Yeah.
Continue,
That's okay.
Vinamra.
Yeah, so Akshay Kumar, John Ibrahim, Vicky Kaushal are the only 3 actors who can headline movies based on true incidents. When you read such responses, I mean, how do you respond?
See, my answer would be somewhat similar to what Sujita said. All those are personal opinions, and you cannot hold anybody for a personal opinion. My job is to act in films. I have no command over the casting of a film. That is completely dependent on the director, the producer, and the casting director of a film. So we'll continue to do our jobs, and the audience can continue to have their opinions. And of course, nothing absolutely serious about this comment. There are all sorts of comments going on social media. So it's completely fine as long as they connect to the film, they resonate to the film.
Oh, thank you, sir. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Vinamra.
Anita from Spotboy E.
I think Anita's gotten disconnected. Anita, are you there? We'll go for the next one.
We'll go
Rohini.
to the next
Anita's
one. Mr.
got- yeah.
Ramchandran from H&H.
Yeah, hi. Yeah, hi, Dada. Hi, Vicky.
Hi.
Dada, one very specific question. A lot of the film is in English. When you see this film, what did you have in mind as the audience? Were you looking at a large theatrical, or were you thinking of a OTT platform as your final destination to showcase the?
Oh, no, you are absolutely right, because that confusion was there in my mind also, in my producers, Ronnie's head also. How do we tackle that? For that, we also had done a backup and Hindi dubbed also version. I don't know if theatrical release would have happened. How would we have done the release? I mean, it would have been a lot of questions, because it's a lot of the film is in English. Then of course subtitles would have been there. So I don't know what I would have done if it was theatrical. For OTT, the only help is that you have subtitles coming in and you have Hindi subtitles coming in. So that possibly was you can say a saving grace for that. I knew, but a lot of people I was talking to, a lot of youngsters, they say they're also watching in OTT platform. They're also watching a lot of global, films and documentaries which are in English, and they're able to crack it. So I think we all discussed it and everything. Even Vicky was there, Ronnie. So I think we finally took a call. Okay, they would possibly get it. So I think we were a little overconfident there, and I hope they are getting it.
No, in fact, I'm very glad you made it like that, because the film conveys what it has to say, because it doesn't look, nothing looks fake. Everything looks as it was. And thank you for giving us this film.
Thank you so much. Thanks. Pleasure.
Vicky, very specifically, obviously you are an actor turned star now. So what kind of a responsibility comes when you play an actor, when you play a character like Sardar Udham, because you're a star now. You were an actor earlier, you did Masan, you did a lot of films. So as an actor, what is the difference when you are playing a role as an actor and perhaps as a star? Do you send the star home and play the actor?
So to be honest, see, the word star gets attached to you in magazines and in newspapers and in articles. It's not attached to me in my mind. So I am an actor by profession, and I go out there to do my job. So I don't go out there thinking कि अच्छा आज actor की तरह act करना है या star की तरह act करना है. I go out there and I know my assignment, and I try my best to be honest to my assignment. I don't उससे ज़्यादा I don't think like that. You kind of discuss it with your director, you discuss it with your writer, you try and understand the character as much as you can, and then try and be as honest as you can to the emotions that you have to portray. You finish that job and you come back home, and then you go the next day and you do the same job again, and then you come back home. So it's more so like that. I don't see the demarcation of an actor and a star or whatever. At the heart, you're always an actor. Sometimes you wear the clothes of a star and then you remove it and then you do your job. So I guess it's a job like any other. You just go and do your job and come back home.
I'm glad you said that, because I can see a very, very good actor in the film and not a star. Somebody who has some flaws, somebody who has some problems, but he is the hero of the film. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
Next is Sandeep from Desi Martini.
Hello.
Hello, hi Sandeep.
1 second.
Hello.
Yeah, 1 second. There's an issue with my audio.
Is it?
Yeah, I think it's echoing, no? Yeah.
I can hear you. Okay.
All right.
Sandeep, are you good? Yeah.
All right. My question. It's echoing a lot.
Yeah, it is.
I can hear you.
All right. All right. My question to Mr. Sardar is, what were the main incidents? It's echoing a lot. Can you hear me properly?
Nick, what do you think the issue is? Sandeep, do you have any audio device or
I
or
think
some device
Sandeep
around?
has connected on two IDs.
Yeah.
There
okay,
are two.
the problem.
So
1 second.
Sandeep, can you sort it? We'll move to the next person and then get
Yeah,
back.
please do
Yeah.
that.
Perfect.
Cool.
Yes.
Yeah.
Next is Boni from News 18.
Hi everybody. Hi Sujit. Hi Vicky.
Hello.
Hi.
Hello.
Congratulations on the movie, and I'm sure you're getting a lot of love for it. And that's so overwhelming, I'm sure. Vicky, my first question is to you. A few days back, you had put up a photo of the tattoo Ram Mohammed Singh Azad on your arm from the film, and you said "Sirf naam hai, naam nahi, ek soch hai." Right? Could you elaborate on that?
सिर्फ नाम नहीं, एक सोच है. राम मोहम्मद सिंह आज़ाद is a thought, is a vision, It's a vision that the freedom fighters saw over there at that time, sorry. And there was an idea behind tattooing that name on his forearm. He knew that he's going to get caught. He wanted to surrender after that act, and that's the name he wanted to be out, so that it doesn't say that एक हिंदू ने मारा या मुसलमान ने मारा या एक सिख ने मारा या किसी ने मारा. It should be that एक free Indian ne mara. You know, a free Indian did that thing, and that's why I said it's not a naam. एक सिर्फ नाम नहीं, एक सोच है.
Right, right. Sujit, related to that, and also the several ideas and emotions that this film evokes, what do you think is the enduring appeal of films like these, that they still continue to connect with the current generation?
So the relevance, I think the film spoke about the basic equality. I mean, if you see that it spoke about equality, right? And if you go to the core thought of this basic film, you know, it's about equality and diversity, that even Bhagat Singh spoke, and even Udham and the drinking scene, you know, what that speech that he was just talking about. He spoke about share and, you know, not about hatred, and it's all about the dosti and friendship and and freedom and right. So I think we are still in a society, we are still unequal, I think, you know. So I think that should relate to someone who wants to make this world a beautiful place. So I think the thought is that inequality still persists everywhere in every society. And I think how do we sort this out, and how do we get this in? I think these revolutionaries were trying to say something, and at that age, you know, at the age of 20, 23, and, you know, utilize their youth in such a way, I think it spoke to that. So I think it should be relevant, because today, if I am 23, and if I have in front of me Udham and Bhagat Singh, I should question myself that what am I doing? What is the worth of my living? So that's what's most important. Even if I am this old, I mean, it's not about 23. I'm in the film industry in Mumbai, Bollywood, and what is the worth of me? I would, if I go back and see my last 40 years, 50 years, is there something that I can look upon? Is there something that I saw that no, I have contributed to humanity, to human, you know? So I think all this is relevant.
Right. Thank you. Thank you.
Khushbu from New Indian Express.
Hi, Khushbu from Pioneer though. Not sure if there's another person.
कोई बात नहीं, next job हो सकता है आपका.
I thought there's some other Khushbu.
There is one more Khushbu actually.
Yeah, that's one.
Go for it.
All right. Hi, sir. Congratulations on this stupendous movie that you've made and the success of the same. My question to Sujit sir is that you've done great movies like Vicky Dona, Pico, so many more. There's always a lingering message to your films. And I just wanted to ask you, what do you want to convey through Sardar Udham? I feel that it is more than just a portrayal of truth.
Yeah. I think I just spoke, and the last answer was about about equality. For example, when Vicky was asked about the Ram Mohammed Singh Azad, I mean, that's what we are as our country, you know. So that diversity, that unity. I mean, I don't know, where are you from? I am from Kolkata. You are from possibly UP or Rajasthan. What is that? Vicky is from Punjab. Or somebody is from Mumbai. What is that connecting us? I mean, what is that connecting all of us? I think it is that one diversity and unity that's connecting all of us.
Right.
Otherwise, you would have been one other country. I would have been one from other countries. So I think that's what I think this film is talking about. That's what Sardar Udham, I think he meant with this, and that rattled the British. If you see,
right, It did. It did.
That rattled them, and possibly that was the reason also. The Jallianwala massacre happened also on that day, because when they saw the unity in 3 days before the massacre, it was a Ram Navami, and they saw a procession there, and that procession was attended by the Sikhs, the Muslims, and the Hindus, and they were all together in that rally, and that rally really was so disturbing for the entire British that they thought they are uniting together. And I think that's why this massacre happened, which is the backstory of this massacre. So I think this is the very clear message, and of course the message of equality, that the entire we should be equal in some way.
Right. Thank you so much for your answer, sir. This is for Vicky, sir. Now, most of the questions that I had in mind have been answered. So just wanted to ask you, you've already told us about the challenges that you faced playing a man whose life story is an inspiration to all. I just wanted to ask you a little more. Can you talk to us a little more about your character?
My character. See, for me, Sardar Udham, I saw him as a pure soul. For me, there's somebody with a pure soul is, I mean, anybody could get affected by something like that if he or she experiences a massacre like that and the aftermath of the massacre. But I always saw him in terms of my portrayal, I always saw him that he must be a pure soul to kind of keep that in his heart for 21 years. And also not just keep that pain and angst in his heart, but also have that clarity of thought when he kind of got onto this path of revolution and the freedom struggle, that he had the clarity that he did not hate Britishers. He hated the Britishers who represented the evil of colonialism and imperialism.
Right.
To go through a massacre like that and still have this clarity, for me, showed many different colors and layers of this one person. And for me, that's why he's a hero. He was not just a person full of vendetta and vengeance. He had a thought, he had an ideology, he had gone through something that no human should go through. But still, he had the maturity, he had the clarity to differentiate that it's not hatred. It is something more than that, and that needs a global platform. He needs to do an action which would probably make a difference on a global level, to show the world what is happening in India, and what kind of atrocities that his countrymen are going through. So all these factors was this legend for me, was this hero for me, named Shahid Sardar Udham Singh.
Right, got you. Thank you so much. Thank you.
Next is Sheetal from Tribune.
Am I audible?
Yes, Sheetal, you are.
Okay. My question is for Sujit, sir.
Yeah.
Hello.
Yes, I can hear you. Yeah.
Okay, great. So I wanted to ask you, you have already expressed that you have waited for this film, like you had this idea for a longer period. It's almost like you have waited, like Udham Singh has waited for his revenge. So I wanted to know that what aspect of Udham Singh you wanted to represent the most through your film, that each or every person should get. Like as a revolutionary, they were all, they were ahead of time. They had a thinking that was great.
See, the most important thing was that I think in one of the dialogues it comes out that that we only know that it's a revenge, but I think this film is not a revenge film.
Yeah.
So I think that's most important thing to know, that Udham was not just a कि गुस्से में गया और किसी को मार दिया, ये वो नहीं है वो.
Yeah.
He was not that.
जी.
So I think that was the most important to clear that audience and the people, and in my mind as a person also,
yes,
to myself also, that he was why he says still a revolutionary. Revolutionary is that we said that it's an ideology, it's a thought.
Yes.
So it's not just that he, in the film he says that I know you're not a killer. Means he's not a killing machine.
Yes.
Or revolutionary ऐसा ही नहीं होता है कि just you have only weapons and you're fighting. No, it's not that.
Yes.
And if you have seen the film, for example, that particular day when he goes to the passport office, and if, for example, that passport officer wouldn't have doubted something or given him the passport, there was chances that that day he would have come out and he must have left London. He may not have seen that poster and he may not have sensed to assassinate also. So it must have been, I've showed maybe a last minute thought. He was looking for him, he worked for him, then he looked at, this इस आदमी का कुछ हो नहीं सकता, ये विचारधारा ही ऐसी है उनकी सोच ही ऐसी है towards the brown people, towards India. So I think वो एक last minute possibly एक rage होगा उसकी, thought I must finish this and prove this, what to do, because World War was beginning.
Yes, and also I like the fact in the movie that Udham Singh has seen that what bullets could do to people, and he didn't pick the gun until the last moment when he wanted to pick a purpose, like to show the world that what atrocities have been done on us.
I think so. I think that was the most important, that Udham was a revolutionary and he was doing many things that in his capacity to organize and free the country. So ऐसे बहुत लोगों के contributions हैं हमारे में. So he was also one of them.
And one more thing, sir, like during the process of like making the film, when did you see Udham Singh and Vicky Kaushal? Like when did you decided, and how you decided that he would be playing that role?
I don't remember that when, but I think he met us. I think we met at some point, or I think we had a phone call, and then we were wanting to begin the film because after Irfan, and then we were struggling. So I exactly don't remember the time and date, but I think once, I don't know how and who we cropped in Vicky's name. Maybe, I don't know, Ronnie, my friend, who is also the producer. So kahin aisa aaya hoga, and I think then we started thinking of Vicky. We started meeting him and discussing, and that. I don't remember the date and time when actually.
And thank you for giving us this film, because now Udham Singh is in every one of us. Especially
exactly, and I think every school, I think every school and every college, I appeal actually that they must show the film to all the students as a curriculum also.
Ji. Shukriya, sir. And Vicky.
Hi.
Hi. Just because everybody has asked everything, so I just wanted to quickly ask you that from reading the script to now promoting the film and everything that has happened, one or two memories that have stuck by you and were very overwhelming.
Many actually. I think in totality, the process of making this film, where the process was so honest and had so much integrity in it, had so much research in it, had so much honesty in it. In totality, a process like this is going to stay with me for a lifetime. There are a few films that you shoot, and while shooting, you just know that it won't be about how ये film hit होगी या flop होगी, ये ऐसा करेगी या वैसा करेगी. In the process, you just know that in your heart, it's going to be a film that you're always going to be proud of. And that feeling was there while filming also. Somehow it organically kind of seeped in, this feeling. And I'm very happy to see this film, the soul of the film land with the people, and the people resonated with the film. So I think everything about this film is going to stay with me for a lifetime.
Great, sir. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Aisha from New Indian Express.
Hi Vicky, hi Sujit.
Hello Aisha.
Hi, so proud of the film. It's one movie that I think I'll always recommend to all my friends, not just in India, but across all countries, and definitely to our British journalists so that they can watch and know what their ancestors had done to us, and how we handled such a situation. But anyway, I think last time, Sujit, when I spoke with you, we were talking about how you have seen Vicky grow from Masan and then to playing Sardar Udham. He's also played so many other characters in between. As a filmmaker, how do you think, how would you say Vicky has evolved today? What is it that you have seen him go through this entire process?
Vicky, I think the day we told him that what is the film that we are planning to make, I think since that day, I think one thing that I've noticed that, of course, it interested him. I mean, he was so much, and also a Punjab story, and of Sardar Udham. So I think he was keen to learn, I think, about him and what can be, because in the beginning it's difficult to, because we have as no reference point, and even I had no reference point. So even also I was going with certain ideas and discussed with him, how to portray it, where to do it. So I think that ambition to learn, I think, not only him, even for me, I was also learning why he saw me learning, and I saw him also learning. I think that's very important. And for an actor or for any creative person, to keep nurturing it is very, very important, to all the time evolve and not be complacent and comfortable. So the challenges are always, which can steer your mind, even steer your heart, so that, and all the moments here were like this, like he spoke about the drunk scene where he didn't know, even I didn't know. So I told him that, this is it, and this is the moment, and the film. So now you know what character is. So I think and also I placed the camera in quite distant, and I didn't stop him. I said, you go there and start speaking whatever you have. So, and we will see and I will not cut it. I will not stop you also. So that means he must have learned something. He must have got impacted, and he must have nurtured something. So I think that must be a big learning for Vicky, and maybe a big asset for Vicky to learn and understand and be with it. So that's what I guess.
Okay. Vicky, I think last time when I met you, it was for Manmarzia here in Bangalore. Then second time I met you, it was for another campaign, and you had just finished with Bhoot at that time. So we've seen you from Masan, then Sanju, then Bhoot, then Manmarzia. Every character you've owned, and there's something new that has, that you've offered to us, as an artist. So when you look at Sardar Udham, now that it's complete, amazing reviews, and everybody, genuinely loved the movie or performance. As an artist, how do you think this movie has changed you? What is it that you have learned from it personally, and how do you see yourself today?
Firstly, thank you so much for your kind words. I'm really glad that you feel that way about my journey. And I guess the beauty of my job of being an actor is that I constantly get the opportunity to understand different perspectives through different characters. I constantly get the opportunity to work with different set of people and understand their style of telling a story and making a film. I get to be a part of different worlds. I get to surrender myself into the shoes and the soul of a new character every few months, and that somehow somewhere helps me grow and evolve, not just as an actor but also as a human being, and plus I also get paid for it. So so I think I feel it's really I'm blessed to be to be enjoying this. I don't think I ever feel Monday blues or that kind of a thing, because I genuinely love to do what I do, and I've been blessed in this journey so far. I've just been blessed to be collaborating with fantastic filmmakers on some really amazing stories. I give my best to it, and then I kind of like it. It's up to the audience, and I'm really happy if this is how they think of my journey with Sardar Udham. What I've learned is actually I've learned a lot from Sujita's way of telling a story, which is really organic, which is very real, very fluid at the same time. It almost took me back to my theater days where it was about exploring that character, exploring that world, and always trying to find that honest note because the audience would be sitting a few feet away from you and
Yeah.
it's all happening in real time. So the kind of atmosphere he would create on set, it would be so real for me as an actor that it would really help me immensely. And also his way of filmmaking is why I say it's fluid is that because it's not a conventional style where you would be having a bound script and everything is happening according to the script and then we go to the T and then we are talking we're marking this scene is done, that scene is done. We're constantly evolving, finding the character, making the film, shaping the film. Then it gets shaped again at the edit table. So it was my biggest tool as an actor on this process was to surrender to his vision completely, to unlearn what I know and then to learn new things. So a process like this really helps you as an actor because you get to tell yourself that you know nothing and you're going to start learning from scratch. And that as an actor is a very important process to go through. So I guess I'm evolving, I'm learning, and as long as I get to be part of films like this, get to work with filmmakers like Sujita, I will keep learning in the most fantastic way, I feel.
Yeah, amazing. And I do hope you get to work again with him and likewise for Shujit, that you would give us more films.
आपके मुंह में घी शक्कर.
Thank you.
Next is Sandeep from Desi Martini.
Yeah, hi.
Hi, Sandeep.
Hello, Sujita. Hello, Vicky.
Hello, Sandeep.
My question is to you, Mr. Sircar. The thing is, we've seen umpteen films in Hollywood, forget about Hollywood, in the world cinema scenario where they use the steel and orange color combination, the color palette for that matter, which actually, gives a different whole new texture to the film. And we've seen the same usage in this film as well. This particular color palette, even though it's being used time and again, but the way your film actually used this color palette is on a different level altogether. I think that also elevates the entire mood of the film. Firstly, what were your influences? While choosing this color palette. Secondly, I have my question. It's a little long question. It's a big question. Secondly, there were certain terms used in the film throughout the film, especially the first half of the film where you're talking about Marxism. We are actually juxtaposed with how the British were really scared of the Marxists and what role did the Marxists have to play in the freedom struggle, or how did our freedom fighters use Marxism as a tool, which very few films have actually spoken about when we've seen other films made about different freedom fighters in the past as well. We're talking about how, what role did Mussolini and Hitler have to play in the freedom struggle and all of that. Do you think that, incorporating all of these, statements actually, these facts in the narrative, especially the first part of the film, actually slowed down the pace of the film because, and also because the fact that the film is being released, the film released on Amazon Prime and it's an OTT platform, was it a conscious decision to do that? Because people would have the, perhaps, this is like very slow. Like for instance, the other day I was having a word with a friend of mine and I told him what a lovely film this is. And he said, Sardar Udham se wo kitna slow film hai. That is what he said. Maybe because he did not. Main to usko band karke dheere-dheere karke dekh raha hu. Was it a conscious decision to kind of incorporate that, or would you make the film in the same way with the same sort of a narrative if it was meant for releasing in the theaters for that matter? And my third part of the question is, when you're talking about all of these, forget about the third part of the question. You could just perhaps answer these two questions.
So in terms of the color palette, I think it was Obigda's decision. So when I initially spoke to him about the film and how and the kind of shots and locations and the mood, he showed me a couple of French, artist's paintings, because he only goes with paintings. Of course, this kind of thing you must have seen, and we have seen in a lot of Hollywood films and European films, and there is no shy away of saying that those Hollywood films are also quite an inspiration for
Not just
us
Hollywood. We've
and
seen,
from.
I mean, for instance, you take a film like Melina from, it's an Italian film, and
Yeah.
it almost had the same color palette. You had that
Yes,
absolute
possibly.
pinkish brown. Hollywood
it
is
would
just
have,
one. I mean,
because
people seem to know about Hollywood, and people know about Hollywood, and especially normal people who are not really literate in cinema, as far as that is concerned.
I would say that my color palette is more than the Hollywood, is more European.
Yes,
Because
exactly. That's what I was driving at.
I would say it's more Scandinavian.
Yeah.
I would say, because if you see the mist and everything that I wanted to capture in the film in London, I rather say it's more Scandinavian. Scandinavian are more organic. Their lookout for color palettes and cinematography, which also Abhigda is also belongs to the same. They are quite rooted to the root, in terms of the culture. So even my grading person or even Obigda, they're so common and ordinary. And if you go to Europe, I've never visited London, first tell you. So I've done London without visited London. So it's all my archive and imagery that I have. So I've not gone to any European country as such, apart from Russia. So, and also for the World Cup football. So that's how I saw it, and I thought I'll do it here. And Ronnie said, okay, let's do it here. So everything that I know is through paintings and through pictures and photographers and Obigda. So that was purely Obigda decision and the painting that he showed me, and he followed that. And the Indian color palette was different that he showed, and then he did. He kept as much, color and chroma in it, and little oranges also, in his color palette, which I think was quite fresh, and it gave me a very modern feel rather than a very too much of a period film, so that it just sensed very fresh and not dated. So I think that was the idea. Your second part of a question is a huge and a long discussion, so I can't just give you an answer on this in few minutes. But it's a huge discussion. I mean, you're asking about the socialism and the communism and why the British were. So let me quickly give you example. During the 1940s, when the communist movement started in Britain, especially the Communist Party of London and Britain, there was an hunt down of those of the people. Yeah. I mean, who they thought to have rebel ideas, and communists, they were hunting down. So if you see in the film also that the girl Eileen, she is from there, and Surat Ali was a part of the labor, union, and he takes help of Udham, and Udham goes and takes help of her. So there was a lot of interaction, and also Bhagat Singh formed HSRA, which is a socialist, and he was a little socialist Marxist, somewhere in the middle. He was not a pure communist, but he was somewhere in the middle, adapting Marxism and socialism somewhere. So I think it was there. So I just wanted that, and there's no way that I would shy away, because it was fact. It is there in Bhagat Singh's books. It is there, and even Udham followed Bhagat Singh. So if that truth has to be shown what it was, and I had to show it, that what they were actually. So different kind of political ideologies were at that time was activated. Yeah, it was the activism was in a different sense. I mean, one side was the non-violent Gandhi who was taking, on the other side it was this, on the third side other. So there was many platforms who were all working together for an independent India possibly, and so this was one side of it, and it was there in history. And OTT, maybe OTT was a very good platform, I think. We decided because our experience with Gulabu was quite good. I think it reached that well, spread so fast.
No, what I'm asking is, as I
Sandeep,
said,
sorry, we'll have to make it quick. Sorry, sweetheart. We
yes,
have
yes,
two more
yes,
guys
Sandeep,
left.
yeah.
Yeah.
I just
You
need
asking
to ask
is
this question very pertinent, yeah.
Yeah, but ask me. Yeah.
Yeah, the thing is, like for instance, as I said, all of these ideologies and all of these factual things that were incorporated in the film, especially the first half, and then obviously, the entire massacre that happened, and it was focused on the second.
So I got your point. So my important stamp of approval was CBFC. Okay.
Achha.
So I think so now also Amazon has also made it that even when they saw it also, they also felt that are we going to censor? I said, of course, the censor will have to censor. So I think CBFC's whatever leniency to look out on this film was, I think, absolutely commendable. I really appreciate all the CBFC members. I thank Prasoon for creating and giving a team who understood the film that it requires that kind of a violence or the blood or whatever we have spoken about, right movement or Bhagat Singh. So I think their stamp of approval was the ultimate in terms of approval for me that I could release it in theater or in OTT. It's not that I could not release in theater, so that's why I went to OTT and without an approval. If you see, there's a proper censor certificate there on the top of the film.
Right.
Great.
Okay. My question to Sanjeevni, 1 second, please. Vicky के साथ मुझे एक सवाल करना है, Vicky को.
I hope you got my answer, right?
Vicky, yeah, I got your answer. Yeah. Vicky, I have one question for you, and that is, what was your takeaway from the role? And as far as seeping yourself into a character like this, especially with an author background, a role which is mostly, it wouldn't really be an exaggeration to say that the writing, the direction, the post-production, the production part of it was the pre-production part of it, and the production part of it was, it would be the hero of the film. How difficult was it to perhaps, as an actor, to seep yourself in the character and then, snap out of it?
To answer the first half of the question, which was, can you repeat that first half?
Yeah, which was, what was your takeaway from the film?
Yes. See, for me, what was the biggest revelation was their ideology. See, we have all been conditioned to grow up to these words of freedom and equality.
Yeah.
But what they were speaking of 100 years back was freedom and equality on a global level, as a world citizen, not just as an Indian citizen. When they talked about freedom and equality, they would talk about each and every person in the world feeling equal, each and every person in the world feeling free. And that for me was a revelation. I was like, yeah, why do I always connect freedom to just for me feeling free as an Indian? Why not me feeling free as a world citizen? So that for me, in terms of the ideology, was my biggest takeaway from this film. And also, of course, that sometimes what happens is in our lifestyle, in our age, in this digital age, when you're bombarded with information is old after 24 hours, to not somewhere down the line, it is important for us and for the generations to come ahead to always remember the kind of sacrifices that have gone through for us to be living in a free country today. To keep discussing them, to keep remembering them, to keep showing them to the present generation and to the generations ahead. To kind of understand the real value of those sacrifices. Freedom did not come easy to us. It really came at a cost. And the least we can do is to kind of remember them and learn from them. And also to kind of realize that there's a Sardar Udham in each one of us. It like Sujita mentioned earlier on, a revolutionary is not a revolutionary just because he's holding a pistol or throwing a bomb or having a talwar. It's in the ideology. Today Greta is a revolutionary who's a kid who's talking about climate change. Today Elon Musk could be probably a revolutionary who's thinking about settling in Mars. But so a revolutionary is a revolutionary when it's in your thoughts and in in your ideas, not just because you're holding a gun or you're killing somebody or you're throwing a bomb. So these were my takeaways and my kind of things that I learned from this film.
And how difficult was it for you to perhaps seep into the character, especially when, I mean, for instance, the director, explains the entire scene to you or a sequence to you, and then you do it.
It was challenging. It was challenging. Firstly, to understand.
Sandeep, sorry, we'll take the last question.
ho gaya,
Please,
Sandeep,
Sandeep, 10 minutes we've taken, yaar. Please understand. Last question, yeah? Okay.
Yeah, Vicky.
Yeah, no, it was something. It was challenging because firstly, to make an emotional graph of a character who is not very extensively or elaborately discussed in our history books. He's not a character who's really documented well in the books or in films or whatever. All that is documented about him is from him assassinating Michael O'Dwyer, the letters that he wrote in the prison, his courtroom trials, and that he got hung after 3 months of imprisonment. Those are the only things that are documented. Apart from that, if you have to live the 20 years journey before that, to kind of really do the research, and I mean the team, we had an incredible team to do the research, and plus Sujita, who's been living with this film for 20 years, to kind of jot down those points, and then once you have them on paper as to where he was and what he was doing at what point of time, and then to have to find that emotional graph of this person was a little challenging, and plus how the film is also non-linear in its structure and all of that, and plus we have very few words to kind of portray that emotion and to kind of really say out those emotions to the audiences. So to kind of get a mental grasp of those emotions and that graph was the most challenging part for me as an actor.
All right, okay. Thank you so much.
Thank you.